Back for another episode of Two in the Cooler. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you don't already, for some weird reason, follow us on socials at Two in the Cooler. Definitely subscribe to the YouTube, posting clips on there, full episodes. You've listened, now you can watch. It's phenomenal technology. What are you going to do? And you're definitely going to watch this episode. It's a great one. Before we get into that, you know the deal. And it starts off, same as always, like this, because this episode of Two in the Cooler comes to you in affiliation with Instacart. Instacart, I've said it a million times, and I would say it even if I didn't have to. Instacart is the best way to get some of your favorite local products from some of your favorite local stores delivered right to your door in as little as 1 hour. It's not just for the grocery store, folks. Check out Instacart. See what you can get delivered right to your home. Nice and easy, plain and simple. Might as well use it for groceries as well. Mother's Day just happened. Who knows how many people got caught missing an ingredient, a last-minute item. Never get caught without what you need again. Just to use Instacart, you can have it delivered right to your door. It's incredible what we're doing these days. Absolutely incredible. The best part is right now, Two in the Cooler listeners get free delivery on their first order of $35 or more. Just hit the link in the show description and get yourself that deal. Start using Instacart today. I also have to mention, folks, merch up on teespring.com/store/Two in the Cooler, or hit the link on our Twitter bio. Very easy to find, Two in the Cooler. Awesome merch we've got up there. We've got hashtag pizza tipping shirts. We've got Matt Can't Read. We've got, obviously, Two in the Cooler logo shirts, all done by the wonderful Mark Zastro. And we've just got the new PTP shirts up, Protect the Prostitutes, folks. Show your support for the sex workers of the world with PTP. Top of the line merch, super quality, so comfortable. The t-shirts are unreal. It's getting warmer outside, why not get a tank top, okay? Get yourself something classy. teespring.com/store/Two in the Cooler. Get yourself something nice, and it's a great way to support the show. Thank you to everybody that's bought merch. It's awesome anytime we see those orders come in. It's really, really great. The other thing that's great is my pal Andrew Doricko, who joined us on this episode. He's the man. You're gonna love it. This episode starts off in a phenomenal place and only gets better. This is what the show's all about, people. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. We appreciate it. Take care, folks. Here's the show.
And we're live.
Stop recording because it stopped.
And now it says recording.
Yeah, because now we're recording.
Record button.
Mm-hmm.
So we're here.
Does that make sense to you?
And episode 58.
Yep, I guess so.
Yeah, because you told me that last week was episode 56. I guessed it was 57. It was 57.
Who can keep track?
Unless
Who
you
cares?
labeled it wrong. But I'm going to trust
No, I didn't label it.
Yeah, you just have
wrong.
to look at the one beforehand.
Yeah, but we do.
And then
we do show every week, so it's like, who's counting?
Weeks.
I guess that makes it sound like it'd be easy to keep track
It's
of.
super easy to keep track of.
Yeah, whatever. But today is an important one.
Very.
We got our good pal Andrew Doricko in.
I don't know which camera to wave to, but
Wave at
Whichever
that
one.
one.
You got those one.
Yeah.
You got that one.
That's the
Hello,
flip-off
everyone.
camera.
That's
Slash the
the
fuck
flip-off
you
camera?
camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, like
when
if
you're
you
angry
have
at somebody.
when you got
Okay.
somebody to call out.
Yeah,
When
you
Matthew
use that
does one of
camera.
his fuck yous of the week.
Yeah, my fuck you of the week goes to that camera.
that
Sponsored
one right
by Tijuana Flats.
Yeah, shout out. Unofficial sponsor.
Unofficial sponsor of the podcast, Tijuana Flats.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that you're one of my favorite people to talk to, Andrew, is because you're a guy that gets really into. When you find something that you're into, you get really into it. The first thing that I remember being like, whoa, Andrew might be a little too into this, was iCarly when we were in sixth grade.
Dude, I go through the phases, man. I jump on and hop on the bandwagon and whatnot, and
You go through.
I
you
cycle
through.
I
Yeah,
cycle
yeah.
through.
Have you dipped your toes back in the waters of iCarly?
I
since
haven't,
it's been
but
on
I
Netflix?
heard they released it on Netflix, and they're doing the reboot, aren't they?
They're doing a reboot.
I saw something about
Yeah,
that
but
too.
Yeah, we had this. We briefly talked
With
about this. I don't think it was
somebody.
on the podcast though,
No, it wasn't. I don't know who we were talking about.
because there's
with
no
it, but
Sam.
There's no Sam.
She went
so
nuts, didn't she?
no, I
Well,
don't
she
think
had
so.
some beef
I
with
thought she-
Nickelodeon. I think.
I
she
don't
had
know.
some-
Last
think
I
she had
heard,
some
I
beef
know
with
that
Nickelodeon.
she
I thought she
dated
was
an
one of
NBA
those-
player and then
That was it.
That's it,
That was
yeah.
the end of it.
My problem with her is I always imagined her in real life how she was in the show, which, like, I guess politely put, was a bit trashy. Like, just ate chili with, like, a big wooden spoon all the time. That's how I feel like she was in
Actually,
real
no,
life.
I know exactly what you're talking about. 'Cause
Wow.
So
I mean,
that's
credit
why-
to
when
her
you said-
acting,
when
then
you
I
said,
guess.
When you said
that
she
was her
dating-
personality.
yeah.
That wasn't even her acting. That was just her
Yeah.
just showing up.
Right. They just started rolling.
Yeah,
You ever
when
see those, like, Star Wars memes where there's some where it's like Hayden Christensen, who was Anakin Skywalker. It's like a meme of him sitting there, and the caption is like, Anakin killing younglings wasn't even in the script. I just got to set and started whacking those little fuckers, and George was rolling. And that's how the magic happened.
Who's the guy that James Cameron? Is that the guy who directed Avatar?
Yes.
Did I talk about this on the podcast last week?
No.
He is like, and this makes me think of, you kind of getting really into this stuff. There's this documentary on Disney Plus about like uncovering Atlantis. I think it's called Uncovering Atlantis.
The animated one?
No, not the movie, but that's also great. But isn't that movie just called Atlantis? And
Atlantis, the Lost City, I think
there's a
is
part
the full
two.
title.
There's a second movie as well.
Return to
Michael
Atlantis.
J. Fox.
Michael
is,
J.
the main
Fox
character.
plays
Yep.
Milo. Yep.
But so there's this documentary on Disney Plus called, I think it's, I'll look up the name, but I think it's called Uncovering Atlantis, and James Cameron is in it because he has this huge passion for discovering Atlantis and boats. He loves boats.
Really?
Like, he loves the water, apparently.
Well, he went into that submarine, know,
Yeah.
all those years ago. He went like
To Titanic, right? Isn't that what to go see the Titanic?
No, this was
Or no, he's
years
the
after.
deepest person ever in the ocean.
That's right.
He's
yeah. This was like 2014 or something. I want to say.
I would have guessed 16, but it's all in the
something
same.
like that. James Cameron.
Yeah, it was
yeah,
like a big
he,
discovery. Maybe even Shark Week, they might have aired some of it too.
I don't know, but yeah, he was just like, I want to go deeper than anyone's ever been, and so he's got all this money. He engineered a specialty submarine, which looks like the little sub from Spy Kids. It looks exactly like that. And then he dove down. He's been deeper than anybody else before.
Yeah. And they had to build it. I remember like watching and hearing about it. They had to build it with like metal so thick because the pressure was going to collapse it so much when you're so deep in the ocean.
Sense, just
Yeah.
'cause
But
pressure.
anyway, yeah, so that's on Netflix. I was going to talk about it, but now I feel like I would rather let the people watch it. And then
Okay.
you should watch
Well,
it.
I
It's
want to
really
hear
cool.
about it a little bit.
Do you
Yeah.
because in my opinion, they actually uncovered Atlantis.
Okay. Yeah. Just go through it for us.
So, well, one,
It's still good to watch.
they filmed. I don't remember the guy, like the head guy in the documentary is like working as James Cameron's partner because it was filmed while they were filming Avatar. So there's actually a couple clips of James Cameron filming Avatar, and it's hysterical because it's just people with the little balls all over them. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I guess they were going based off of and now I can't even remember who it is. I don't want to say the wrong person. It was like one of those like philosophers, like Plato maybe.
Okay.
Like, and their writings from like ancient times that was like pretty much implying that Atlantis was located somewhere in the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
But not like a legit underwater city that like people lived in, but like the city, a water, like a city. I don't remember the exact term they use, but pretty much a city that revolves around water.
Yeah.
Like it's immersed in water, and everything they do is like via boat
Right.
and stuff like that. And it's really cool. They go through all this stuff about how, like, just like through all these like ancient different things, and like there's this like I guess like the picture of Atlantis was like 3 like circles, 3 rings with it. Yeah.
It's like on like the if you look at Africa, it's like it's supposed to be right at like the top where it goes down, like right before you enter the Mediterranean, but it's got like it's almost
So it's like 3 circles. Imagine 3 circles.
Yeah.
But like on the one side, like a
You can
river
get in
that
and
goes directly to the middle, and there's
Okay.
water in between each of the 3 circles of land, with like this huge like city in the center one. pretty much.
I think it's called the Horn of Africa is like where it's located, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So this one this one there's a thing called the Gates of Gabriel or something like these facts are getting butchered by me like historically, but I'm just giving you a summary.
Yeah.
And it's right at I guess it's like where the Mediterranean meets the Atlantic, right? And there's all this stuff too about how so that's like the western side of the Mediterranean, right, where it would meet the Atlantic.
Yep.
And the eastern side is like farther down. So Spain is like so anyway, I guess the readings that they're going off of say that it's like right towards where the Atlantic was and blah blah. And also at the time period that it exists, there was never known to be like ocean travel, right? Like nobody ever thought that boats went out into the Atlantic. But this whole documentary goes through it all and like how the reason that it got covered up was there's this huge volcano that erupted that like destroyed like not destroyed but affected like almost the entire world because it was
super
so
volcano.
large. Yeah.
There's one under Yellowstone right now.
Yeah. And like it affected all
think
this
about that all the
crazy
time.
stuff. And I can't even explain how to say it, but I think they know exactly where it is, but they'll never actually find it because
the city was destroyed.
It's completely It's like there's it's pretty much they think it's somewhere in Spain that is now pretty much covered with like land that used to be fully like submerged in water. It's often thought that, well, according to this, there's another city. It starts with a T, like another like lost city, like I can't remember what it's called.
Doesn't matter.
Starts with a T, and they think that is also actually Atlantis, and they think they're the same thing, and they think they found them both.
Did they go down and see
can't.
any like?
They can't
because it's just the way some kind of I don't know plates or something are shifted.
Yeah, but they know that. But they found a ton of stuff like in the like these ancient anchors was really like a big thing for them. So they kept finding. They found
anchor like a boat anchor.
Yeah, and it's just like imagine like a huge boulder that they kind of like ovaled off, and then there's just one hole like straight through the center of it where you'd like rope through. And they end up finding like a bunch of them. The closest island from that place that they would thought to be like a trade, like you stop there first, like a port kind of, like an initial port where you'd stop first and like wait your turn to get into the city of Atlantis via boat. It's pretty fucking crazy. Everybody should watch it. I don't know how we got on that tangent.
Because it's Atlantis. It's fun to talk about.
It's so cool.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I'll have to check that out because I'm trying to remember what I've heard about that before. But I've always heard that Atlantis, if it was real, was like a very technologically advanced city. That's obviously a lot of what the animated movie is about. Yeah. But it's based on
it is like extremely
right.
But like not how you're thinking, not like you know what I mean. But like flushing toilets, like shit like that.
Right.
But like. You know what I mean? In times where, that like shit like that.
Right, where everybody else was living in shit.
And so in this, I wish I could remember the exact philosopher so I could be more confident telling the story. But in his writings, he talks about like how all their structures are built and like everything was like spherical, right? Everything's like, and that's because that's how their whole city was based. And so then they found throughout a bunch of different areas like ruins where like people when the earthquake and stuff was going on would have fled that have structures that match the exact descriptions that should have been in Atlantis and like other things like at the center of where they could tell these like the city was in these ruins like worship centers towards Poseidon, right? Like god of water or whatever, because that was their whole thing was they were
water.
Like,
they were water folks.
Water.
They were water.
Yeah,
folks.
they really liked water.
I always figured that Atlantis was like sunk as part of like the Great Flood, like the one that's referenced in the Bible, because that flood is every major religion and every minor religion basically has a story, has like a flood story. So it's probable that something like that happened.
So that's
way back
that's what this earthquake was, though. Like they're saying, or not earthquake. That's what this volcano was, because the volcano, So they have, again, it's in the documentary. I don't know all the facts, but like you can look through all these different writings throughout history that talk about this, and they all talk about it in different ways, but it's all the same time period, and it's all virtually like the same event. Some people refer to it as an earthquake, but it was this giant volcano that led to tsunamis that covered like now what would be entire countries, and took now it would be entire countries completely off of continents through either like actually like knocking land masses off or burying them in water.
Which makes sense, because if you didn't know what was going on and you were a little further away from the epicenter of this eruption, you'd be
because
like,
there was
massive
earthquakes, massive tsunamis, and like clouds of smoke covering like the entire world. People saying it didn't rain for like 5-6 years, or winters, 5-6 winters. Well, or actually, they said winter lasted like almost a decade because of the volcano, because there was just this layer of ash on over everything.
Sometimes I don't know. The Earth gets crazy.
Yeah, I wish that there was a way to just know what happened.
I know, but it's
time travel.
Time travel.
Just go back.
That'd be tough to do, though.
Yeah, but there's a lot of flaws in time travel.
Well, sure.
Jeez.
You know, you got to get to 88 miles per hour. First of all, you have to do that. Mm-hmm. That's a Back to the Future.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think everybody understood it.
Well, you had to.
Then what I was gonna say next was also the I don't really watch that much time travel stuff anymore, but I would say the last two things that I have watched that involved time travel are Avengers Endgame and then also Family Guy, constantly referencing time travel, and they have a shit ton of problems.
The thing about time travel for me is like the logistics of it. There's just so much to consider. One, the money is different. Even if you go back to like the fucking 70s.
Well, Doc Brown with his little briefcase.
Exactly. You have to have something like that. You got to have the right clothes. Everybody smells like shit, which nobody seems to think about, except like people smell and are terrible and are raping each other all the time. Like
Bill and Ted did time travel pretty well.
That's true, but that's a special case, I guess. One,
that was for their history project.
That was for their history project. So
that also happens in Family Guy one episode.
I do. Yep. I
yeah,
know
they take Chris. Chris is gonna fail his history exam, and he doesn't get. Actually, anything. I think he something. They end up on the Titanic. Yeah, and then his teacher was never born because of what they did on the event. Yep. So he shows up to class. He shows up to class, and there's no more exam because he has a completely different teacher.
That's pretty funny.
Actually, while we're on the subject of time travel,
will you bring that just a little closer?
I'm sorry.
Andrew? No problem.
Of course.
Slide forward.
Oh yeah, that's good.
This is
perfect. I watched Hot Tub Time Machine the other day, which is actually a great movie.
Yeah,
very
100%.
Very funny.
That's another interesting take on time travel.
Yep.
Just pour Russian Red Bull on your hot tub circuit.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of time travel that you would want to utilize, because they obviously gain so much from the time travel.
And
they go
back.
Stuff.
They go back in time to be themselves again.
Right.
Which
they look
like their younger selves.
Yeah, they take the place of their younger selves, which is probably not the way it would work. And it'd be creepy if it did work that way.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to. That'd be really weird.
But I did see, and I saw it on Twitter, so super big question marks surrounding this. But I saw a video that said that Microsoft developed the first ever DNA hard drive. So they've had the ability to clone people, right? So they could, they don't, but they could. Well, they do.
They probably do.
Yeah, they do, but they don't, but they could. Just by taking a skin cell and cloning you, right? And now they have the ability to take this DNA hard drive and implant it into the new version of yourself and give you your full consciousness back.
Oh, so what's
that movie with I think it's Ryan Reynolds, Selfless, where he's the
Yeah.
old millionaire and he gets put in a new body.
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
he
yeah,
stops
yeah,
taking
yeah,
his
yeah.
pills or whatever. Because
Yeah,
he
something
finds
like
out that he is actually another guy and he finds his wife, remember, because he has those flashbacks, blah, blah, blah. Totally.
So in
Yeah.
that movie, though, so do they like take a guy and then inject Ryan Reynolds into him?
Yeah, they
and
put
then
him in
that guy
they put him in
becomes
some
Ryan
type of like MRI looking machine
Yeah.
that spins around his head and
They
he
pay him
turns
like
into
a bunch
somebody
of
else.
money or something like that too, and that's how he ended up there or something like that.
That's weird.
It's
No, I
it's a
thought
ver-
he paid.
No, I'm pretty because he wanted to like give his wife the money or something like that. Wasn't it?
Well, because he was
I don't
dying.
know.
Oh,
It's-
okay,
I
yeah,
have
yeah,
seen the
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
He
but
was
it's been a while.
dying
Yeah.
of
Right.
Oh, that's
like
what it was.
cancer
That's what
or
it was.
something. Yeah.
Okay. There's this show on Netflix called Altered Carbon that is, I mean, like probably the best sci-fi show in the past 10 years or something. The first season is awesome. The second season, they canceled it. It got a little whatever. Some people liked it. I was not as good as the first, but the whole premise of that show is that it's a future where everybody's consciousness exists in like these little, it's basically like a little hard drive. It's called a stack. It's like it's like a floppy disk that like exists in the back of your neck. So like bodies, they call them sleeves because you can just take this thing out and then put it in
a different one.
whatever sleeve and then be that person. So that's a big part of that show is that the millionaires in this world can just create clone after clone of themselves and then what do they call it when you like put it to the cloud, back up their consciousness into the stack
Just in
and then
case
they
they
keep
die
existing
or
like that.
something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
crazy.
So they could just do whatever they. That's an interesting. I think about. I was gonna go a completely different direction with this conversation, but imagine if you could actually become. What's the word where you never die?
Immortal?
Immortal.
Yeah.
Like, you ever seen the movie Old Guard? It's a
Yo,
Netflix
yeah.
movie,
I watched
like
that movie. I
Well,
liked that movie.
The cool part about that is they die eventually, right? Like
Right. They
randomly
just
one
live for a
time
really
they'll
long
just
time.
yeah. They keep regenerating and then randomly it just stops one day.
Yeah.
Wolverine style.
And that's kind of what's different between that and what we were just talking about. And I think that it's more likely that if people are going to become immortal, it's through like
Being able to-
technology. Like
Yeah.
you won't have your original body or
Yeah.
like hop bodies and shit like that. Or so if you do it like that one Black Mirror episode where people are literally just living in like that computer, the one it's called like Santa Barbara or
I've
something.
only
It's like
seen,
the two
I've
women.
only seen a
Yes.
handful of Black Mirror episodes.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
I know.
they just their consciousness exists solely. Like they have no body attached. It exists solely in the
Yeah.
computer world or whatever.
They're like the old people, right? Isn't that what they're?
Yeah,
like
they're old
old
people, and
and-
then they like live in this. So, does that? I guess that counts as immortal. It's the same question as in the Matrix.
But
There's
don't they
that part.
die? They can die.
I don't know if they can die in the
Or they go
So their
simulation.
bodies might die, but they're still
Right, that's what I'm
conscious
saying
in
is that the
computer.
consciousness, the consciousness can exist solely digitally. But it's that question in the Matrix. There's that part in the Matrix where the guy, spoiler alert, like betrays them, and he's eating that steak,
Yeah.
and he's like, I don't care if that it's
It's
not
not
real.
real.
It tastes fucking amazing. I mean, so if people get to a point where, to be immortal, you do exist completely digitally, I think that your existence is so real to you at that point that it still counts as being immortal, even though you're not physically.
What if that's the whole idea behind big tech these days? They're trying to get the internet and everything like via social media so immersive into people's lives that they become okay with their consciousness living through.
I mean, that's whether or not that's like their
It's a hell
master
of a
plan or
conspiracy.
whatever. Yeah, exactly. That's just the natural progression of things
I've
at
been hot
a
on
certain point.
Conspiracies lately.
I like a good conspiracy.
I have one right now that might actually get us put on a list.
Okay.
But I'm
Well,
gonna-
Let's go for it. Let's
we're
go for it,
already
yeah.
on a couple. Yeah.
It's hockey related though.
Okay.
So it's gonna get a little confusing for you, Andrew. I don't know if you pay any attention to hockey.
Not a huge
Yeah.
hockey guy, but I'll keep up. I'll
All
be
right. So there's this guy. All right. I've got to introduce 2 to 3 people here.
Okay.
There's a guy that plays for the Washington Capitals. His name's Tom Wilson. He's like.
Is this about some of the stuff
this
that's
the
been
fight?
happening
Yes,
recently?
yes,
Okay.
this
yeah,
is-
yeah,
so
yeah. Break
so-
this down.
All right, so I'll go. I'll go back in
Yeah.
time. So The Washington Capitals are playing the New York Rangers. Tom Wilson plays for the Washington Capitals. He's on the ice. Puck gets covered by the Washington Capitals goaltender. There's a little bit of a scrum going on, and Tom Wilson's kind of known as one of the few tough guys left. Not quite the alpha. There's probably one guy I would say that's tougher than him, but he's probably second in line to holding that title in the National Hockey League. So, but he's also not a bad player. Either way, there's kind of a scrum going on. He gets his wires crossed. There's a guy on the ground that he kind of, I don't know, throws a couple shots in the back while he's on the ice. And in a good teammate move, so the guy that was on the ground, his last name is Buchnevich. So Buchnevich is kind of getting pummeled in the back by Tom Wilson while he's on the ice, and the Rangers, as of right now, the Rangers' best player, his name's Artemi Panarin, comes in and jumps on Tom Wilson's back. Now, this isn't something that would ever happen previously in hockey, but as like the rules become stricter, these kind of skill players feel a little bit more protected. Mm-hmm. That didn't happen in this case. Tom Wilson got up and went ballistic. He ended up kind of grabbing Panarin by the back of the hair. He's got longer hair, and ripping him straight down to the ice, kind of on his head with no helmet on. It was a pretty dangerous play. I mean, but I don't know. I don't think that it was as bad as a lot of people say they do. People are like, kick him out of the league, blah, blah. I don't agree with any of that. But so he ends up getting a $5,000 fine, which is the max fine that an individual player can get under the collective bargaining agreement. That happens. They're set to play again with just a night in between. And so the Rangers owner comes out and makes this statement saying, like, at the NHL, this is bullshit.
Because the NHL has this commission, right, that, like, looks back
player
on
safety.
Things. Player safety.
Yeah.
So
NFL's the same way.
Right. They watch it afterwards, and then they decide
so the
what
owner
the deal
of the Rangers comes out and says all this shit.
That board should be fired.
Yeah, and George Peros is the head of player safety. But so he comes at him, and they got all this backlash. The coach and the general manager of the Rangers, or not the not the GM, and because their coach didn't get fired right away, maybe the president of hockey operations, whoever it was, they kind of spoke. They kind of went to the owner and were like, "Hey, we don't necessarily agree with this." Owner just straight up canned them, fired them both.
Yeah,
fires them both. So they go out there to play the next game. The Rangers are getting their asses kicked all over the ice. There's like 6 fights in the first 7 minutes or something like that. It was
nuts.
It was
and
pretty intense.
And they dropped the puck, and like 3 guys squared up immediately.
Yeah.
Oh,
right
is that
off
what
the
that
opening
was?
face.
That was awesome.
So all this crazy stuff happens in total, and then Buchnevich, the guy who kind of not started all, but was Tom Wilson's first victim in the matter, he ends up throwing a wicked cross check to some dude's face. He gets suspended.
I did.
So
I was
he
watching
gets suspended
the
a game.
when that happened.
And the Rangers end up getting a $250,000 fine from the league for the owner's statement against the player safety people, whatever. And now, as of today, the Rangers also let go of their head coach. So in total, the Washington Capitals now absolutely own the New York Rangers. The Rangers pretty much got embarrassed as a franchise, almost to the level that the Buffalo Sabres have been embarrassed this season, which is difficult to do. But this has nothing. Let me get back to the conspiracy theory. So that's just a quick breakdown of what happened. So
that was quick.
Was it quick or did it take a while? I don't know. It's a long
it's okay.
story.
You're okay. No, I was just messing around. You were setting up the pieces for it.
So Artemi Panarin, he's Russian.
Phenomenal name, Artemi. That's my cousin's name.
And he has been one of the few that is fairly outspoken against the Russian government and Vladimir Putin.
Wow.
And the Russian people do not take this lightly. So there was a bunch of allegations as to like some criminal activity that Russia was claiming that Panarin was involved in, saying that like Russia wanted to come take him back and all this crazy stuff. So he was actually like had to sit out of a couple NHL games for like to let all this stuff pass over because Russia was coming after him hard. So there's a lot of Russian players on the Washington Capitals, one being Alexander Ovechkin, one of the greatest born Russian players of all time, one of the best goal scorers of all time to ever see the NHL, blah, blah, blah. He's a pretty big Putin supporter. So I came up with a conspiracy theory that Ovechkin actually was paying Tom Wilson to at some point cause a scene when Panarin was on the ice so that Tom Wilson could take a big time shot at Panarin to like say like, hey, like stop fucking with Russia. So I think that Russia's actually behind the whole incident that caused all of this chaos in the NHL. Total. It's probably not even close to true, but it's funny to think about.
Matt did the connecting of the dots. He solved it.
Putin.
I mean, it's not impossible.
I'm on these motherfuckers, you know. I stay sharp. But aside from that, there's a couple other things I want to talk about.
Yeah.
One, Bill and Melinda Gates. Did we have this conversation last podcast?
No.
I can't remember. My days get confused.
We did not talk about it. The divorce, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're breaking up.
It's very sad.
They've been together a long time,
27
right?
years.
Wow. That is a while. What?
Yep.
Just COVID stuff, right? I imagine. Because with Bezos, like, they've obviously found, like, he was cheating on his wife, so that's why. But 27 years, so they probably don't have a prenup or anything either. She's probably going to get a lot of cash.
But they're both, yes, I think she's going to get, like, $60 billion. But he's still
But they
have,
both
like,
are so involved in, like, that
charitable.
charity work, so they'll probably both still be, like, pretty close.
Yeah, that's
and
what
stuff.
I don't know about close, but I don't think that it's really a matter of like money to that. I don't think it's that messy of a divorce. Well, at least not publicly.
Mm-hmm.
But then the reason that I wanted to bring that up was to keep the train rolling. We went Bezos falls, Gates falls, and of course we talked about A-Rod and J-Lo breaking up a little bit previously, right?
Not on the podcast, but
are you sure?
You and I were just talking about it.
No,
yeah.
I think we did, though, a few episodes ago.
I don't think so.
But now it comes out that J-Lo and former lover
Ben
Ben
Affleck.
Affleck.
Former fiance.
I thought I dreamed that, but I was on Instagram this morning or something and did see that.
Yep.
And, yeah, so we did talk about it a little bit before the show, just on the phone. And I was kind of expressing my dislike for A-Rod, but I'm not sure exactly where it comes from. And I wanted to bring this up to you because you played baseball for a bit, right?
I did.
So do you, as a person, do you like A-Rod?
So I don't dislike A-Rod. I like the Yankees. I've always liked the Yankees.
Fair.
A-Rod played for the Yankees for a long time. Won a World Series with them, but
probably on steroids.
A lot of
when
the
he did it.
disdain from A-Rod comes from the steroid use.
Yeah.
And so it can go one way or the other. Like I'm sure there's players in hockey that you hate that other people love. Like Chara, you probably hate Chara, don't you?
I don't really. There's the NHL players that I hate are very random NHL, and I hate them for funny reasons.
But
yeah,
but that's where that comes in. I think, but I don't know.
Yeah, he got a lot of shit for the steroids.
well, because
stuff.
he got caught twice, didn't he? So he's
the other thing was the last time. So near the end of his career, he got suspended for it was 100 over. It was like a full season basically, or something like that. And it was kind of like it was for something that happened in the past too. So it was like I don't know. It was just kind of bullshit that
politics.
Yeah, it was literally politics of that. And yeah, I don't know. I think they should let everybody use steroids in baseball.
Me too. I think that would be awesome.
Because people want to see the home runs.
I think also I've actually made this
because
this
then it's like guys are going to do it anyways. Mm-hmm. So just let them do it and just let them play at a high level. And the thing with baseball is you still have to hit the ball.
Which is a big problem in baseball right now.
Right, yeah. You still have to hit the ball.
Like, there's been
more
it's no-hitters.
Like, what's the skill really there? It's the coordination in a lot of ways for
like
the
when
game
you
of
say,
baseball.
and then when you say steroids too, a lot of people think anabolic steroids where you're just building, you're like freaking jacked. But like a lot of guys will get suspended for using steroids to, heal from an injury.
Yeah, like
recover.
Medina Spirit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Andy Pettitte was like that. Good Yankee pitcher.
Medina Spirit is the horse that won the Kentucky Derby that has since not really won the Kentucky Derby.
Derby title.
That's what I mean. So it wasn't that the steroids that were in the system are a banned substance. They're banned. You can only have a certain level of them because they reduce inflammation in horses. So that his level was too high. Blah blah blah. But I agree. This is a great conversation. I think that all athletes
think they
should be
should.
able to rip steroids.
I think
Really,
they should.
in every league, whatever.
Think
it is.
about how entertaining.
Yeah.
Like I think about I think about a guy like Lance Armstrong.
Right.
Like he was so good at that. I mean, and blood doping in cycling was always a huge issue. But
that's the thing.
I
Nobody
think that
all those every single person in cycling was on steroids. Probably still is on steroids. All of them.
This
You
is
can't ride
and this is my thing.
How long is the Tour de France?
Fucking
it's
forever.
like hundreds of miles or
Yeah,
something.
it's
It's
isn't
like
it?
insane.
you watch a lot of NBA games, right?
Mhm.
Do you ever watch a G League game?
No,
Exactly,
'Cause
because
it's
you want to see
depressing.
the sport that
G-League
you're
is
watching.
depressing for a
you
couple
want to
of
see the
reasons,
sport
though.
that you're watching played at the highest
Yeah,
level.
exactly.
Right.
So, and I shouldn't actually say that I want to see it because I totally am also on the argument of the integrity of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like, guys should have to work to get there. But there's just something about thinking about the. So I kind of retract my statement. I think I got a little too horny towards steroids.
You got real
Yeah.
aged up for the steroids.
Yeah, but there's something about thinking like we're watching these guys in all different sports, and they're so entertaining because of how good they are at what they do. Now imagine if all of them were just like next level, like stronger and faster and able to
Right.
recover better and like.
Because they
It
still
would be
have the natural
insane.
ability.
I don't
It's just
think they
now
should be able to
everybody's-
use them in football just because of how
People
brutal
would
it.
get fucked
Just
up.
It's already-
because guys are already getting faster and stronger like without them, and the human body can really only take so much. Like how much do you think the human body could take? Like
These
guys
the
are running
average
at,
NFL
like-
career is like three.
yeah,
three seasons.
oh yeah. It's because
Yeah.
and like you would see great players flash in the pan because their bodies would break down so quickly.
Which is the downside of steroids.
That is the downside.
And this is I don't know. I've always made this claim about Rob Gronkowski, and it's no
he was
offense to Rob
juiced.
Gronkowski.
He was 100%
but
juiced.
he had to have taken more steroids than most, like than anybody ever should. And the reason I say that, and this is why, like because he always like, I don't know exactly his entire career. I mean, I watched him when he played the Bills and stuff like that, and I know that he's from here. But people often say he should have been the greatest tight end ever, but he never was able to stay healthy enough to do it. And when you're that big, I mean, yeah, your body can break down just because you're lugging all that weight around, but also it's probably because you took too many steroids. That's probably why your body was breaking down. So had he not taken those steroids, would he have been the kind of the freak athlete that he was? I mean, his ability should have been the same, but would his body have been the same? I don't know. But he probably would have been able to play a lot more consistently. Not that he's had a short career, but I mean, half the time
you're retired briefly.
Yeah.
So
half the time you watch him, he's got double bionic arms, like just trying to keep his limbs attached to his torso. Like it's crazy. So maybe, yeah. I don't think
know.
so.
He does seem like a guy who, if someone came up to him, like if it was from a young age and was like,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you got to do some steroids, he'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever, no problem.
Yeah,
man,
if you
whatever
look up
say.
meathead in the dictionary, that he's like right there.
I mean, he looks like a steroid.
Yeah.
Like he
It's
looks
just-
like
I've
a
never
steroid.
seen
it's
a
just a
steroid, but
syringe with
yeah.
his face on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So
I don't think that if everybody's on steroids,
yeah.
I honestly don't think that it cheapens the sport really at all. I mean, I'm more of a casual fan, but
you
I
usually
don't,
hear that when it's attached to baseball because baseball
Yeah.
is very
Yeah, I think that
baseball-
nostalgic
But
and classic, and that's
that's
kind
the
of the
thing.
appeal of the game is that
Right.
it's tradition. Like that's what it goes with.
Yeah, but kind of like you said, that's just not the way it is anymore. Like
It's
you said,
not.
people want to see the home runs. Like people don't want to see, Babe Ruth eat 4 hot dogs swinging the bat with one
Yep.
fucking hand.
That dude
That's-
was smoking cigars in the dugout
Well,
and
everybody
Yeah,
was,
and
man. That was
pitchers
wild.
are-
yep, drinking,
And-
boozing
well, that
every
was
single
every
night
sport.
and
I
going.
mean, you hear hockey,
Right.
like old time hockey
Yeah,
players
yeah.
do interviews where they were smoking cigarettes in the
Yep.
locker rooms in
Yep.
between games.
Mm-hmm.
And think about the level at which those athletes perform at now. Imagine, like, they couldn't do that if they were smoking cigarettes.
Yeah,
There's no way.
You see Jack Eichel in the locker room with the
Yeah.
thing hanging out of his mouth.
Jack Eichel's an entire different story. The Buffalo Sabres organization is absolutely...
Yeah, can we talk about Jack Eichel a little bit? Because I want to get your side of your thoughts on what's going on.
We can. I can fill you in again. I don't want to take up too much time.
No, it's fine. I mean, I just heard that. Also, I didn't realize that he's been playing for 6 years. Again, as someone who's very out of the loop on hockey, I still thought he was a very young guy. And I remember when he got drafted, I was talking to you because I was like, what are the chances that this guy is a bust? Because something that's huge in the NBA is that somebody will get drafted really high and then nothing happens to him.
That happens in the NHL for sure.
Okay, but you said it didn't happen as much, and you also said that, I think it was with Jack Eichel, that you had never seen a guy that was like talked about in this way before.
Yeah, when him and Connor McDavid, so Connor McDavid was the first overall pick, Jack Eichel was second overall pick in 2015. They both were, Connor McDavid has since proven to be what I will throw a hot take, potentially the greatest NHL player of all time. I don't think he'll ever catch Wayne Gretzky statistically, but like he surpassed 100 points this year in a 56-game season, which is, in today's NHL, I mean, that's ridiculous. In a regular season, he would have had almost 30 more games. He could have been putting up close to 200 points, because I think he's at like 105 or somewhere around there. But fast forward, the Sabres, absolute dumpster fire.
Yep.
Jack Eichel did not. Yes, they've never made the playoffs. They've never actually been a good team with Eichel there. I'm a believer that it's not at fault of Jack Eichel as a player. I think it's very organization based. I think that, it's not even that he didn't have the parts, just the organization culture was crap. Fast forward to this season, they suck. So he comes in with an injury, and people that watch the Sabres a lot or watch hockey a lot knew that Jack Eichel was playing injured all season. It was very, very obvious.
They could, before he announced it, you mean you could just tell?
Oh, big time.
Okay, gotcha.
It
was a herniated disc, right?
Yeah, in his neck. So then it comes out more recently that he has this herniated disc in his neck, and the Sabres say that he will return for the end of the season. Turns out that he doesn't. So then in the postseason kind of press conferences, people start asking the tough questions, because there's been a lot of speculation that he's going to part ways with Buffalo because, I mean, he's 6 years into his career. He's never sniffed the playoffs. He's never had the season that he should have had, and he, in my opinion, should be a top 5 player in the NHL, top 5 forward in the NHL every year. He should be, but he just has never found that stride on the Sabres. And so it comes out that he has this herniated disc in his neck. The reason that there's been such a disconnect now, which is his words, not mine, a disconnect with the organization, is that whatever the herniated disc in his neck is, he believes that his best and quickest way to recovery is to have this surgery that'll repair the entire thing. Whereas the Sabres, like team doctors, are telling him that he can recover without the surgery. So he wants the surgery. The team doctors are saying that he can't get the surgery. And this is where it gets a little tricky, because in the collective bargaining agreement, this is why they give players the right to a second opinion, right? But I don't know personally exactly how it works under contract, because then once you start doing virtually an elective surgery, there's risks involved, right? Like there's always risks in surgery.
Potentially elective surgery. Sounds like it depends on who you ask.
Yes, and he wants the surgery. The Sabres don't want him to get it. He wanted to get it already during the season. He didn't want to return. The Sabres wanted him to return because he wanted to be ready to go to start next season. Now we're not sure if that's going to happen. And so there's all this. Yeah. There's just a lot going on as far as it seems like the organization has kind of, and it's kind of a tough position, because it's easy. My initial impression is, well, you have to let a guy like that, such a good athlete like that, who's so in tune with his body and takes care of his body and has for so long, you have to let him do what he thinks is right? Like if he thinks he's going to 100% recover from the surgery and that's his best option, he wants it, your first instinct is like, okay, you have to let the guy have the surgery, right? But at the same time, and actually the reason that I thought of this point was a conversation with our father. Well, if you're the Sabres and say the surgery doesn't technically go as planned, then are the Sabres still on the hook for his contract? I mean, he's still got, I don't remember when he signed, let's say 5 years, $10 million a year left on his contract, right? So now what's the, I don't know. There's a lot of different moving parts to figure out what's going to happen.
See, this is what's crazy to me. This is like part of a quote of his that I saw was that it's not his decision alone and that the team has a say. That's crazy to me. I had no idea that was a thing. Is it like that with other sports? Do you guys know?
I would imagine.
I would.
Right.
And this
okay.
is, I mean, but
that's I hear what you're saying.
Contract,
right. And it's interesting though because then obviously you look at him less as a person and more as an investment as a player,
that's kind
right?
Of professional
and
exactly.
That's what Eichel,
right. That's kind of what.
Also what Eichel said. He said at the end of the day, he said, "I have to look out for myself, but the Sabres have to look out for the Sabres."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's where this whole kind of feud comes into play. I think it's really sad because I'm with 90% certainty going to say that Jack Eichel will not start the season on the Buffalo Sabres next year, which sucks because I remember how excited I was when they drafted him and how excited the city was and like this is going to turn us around, and it's done nothing of that nature. I don't think he's at fault, and I don't think you can blame him for wanting to go somewhere where he can feel that he can succeed because you hear it now more than ever, and we've talked about this in the past, that as much as we look, you look at these professional athletes like investments or not humans, but they deal with the same, mental struggles that everybody else goes through.
That's right.
Like when you're a guy that has that much talent and you know that you should be performing at this level and for whatever reason, you just haven't been able to find that. Think about how mentally stressful that is. Then all of a sudden you herniate a disc in your neck and you just want to get better by having a surgery, and the team that you're under contract with is telling you, no, you can't have this surgery.
Yeah. Imagine if it were any, like, normal person. Obviously, it's not, but imagine somebody telling you that you can't get this surgery to fix your back. But, yeah, I mean, I again, knowing pretty little, I completely agree with you. I just can't imagine a player of his caliber spending the first 6 years of his career, what's the average hockey career?
Probably, I mean, for guys like him, a lot longer.
Sure,
but
well, he's
potentially,
24,
well, he
25.
he was 18 when he got drafted. That was 2015.
But still, for any, I mean, relatively speaking, for any professional sport, it's not very long. And to spend the first 6 years, a guy with that much potential, that much legitimate skill, I mean, holy shit! I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? Can you imagine, like, 18-year-old Jack Eichel? Seeing where he's at now, like there's no way this is how it was supposed to go down.
So as a Sabres fan, it sucks.
Yeah.
But as a person, you have, and as a hockey player, you have to hope that Jack Eichel gets the fuck out of here. And I feel bad just for saying that because I wish I could I could go in and have a chat with him and be like, dude, you just gotta.
Well, you just follow him into the bathroom again.
But the thing, that's not even a true story.
That is a true story.
But like, you just want to say to him, things are going to get better. But at the same time, people have been saying that to him for the past 6 years.
Exactly.
And I never followed him into the bathroom.
You did follow him
into
the bathroom, but that's okay.
What's the story with
we talked about it before. We just saw him one time and...
Yeah, we saw him at a local establishment.
And Matt said, I'm going to go get his autograph. I'll be right back.
No, somebody said, I think my mom was like, I think that's Jack Eichel walking by.
And Matthew was like, I'll check it out.
Well, so I definitely agree that my first instinct was to check it out. But, like, my checkout plan was to, like, go to the bathroom. I don't think that my intentions were to follow him into the bathroom.
It just so happened that you were both going there.
He ended up going to the bathroom as well.
And Matt's standing there.
No, I didn't. No, I was very nonchalant about it. I kind of just moseyed my way along and didn't make a scene. So, Jack Eichel, if you're listening to this, one, I'm sorry for you. I wish that you could stay in Buffalo, but I will not be mad at you if you don't. And I did not follow you into the bathroom that night.
TBD, but okay. Man, I'm glad we talked about that though, because I really want. It's just so crazy.
So, on the Buffalo sports front, this is one thing that I was excited to come. You're a Bills fan?
Oh,
you have to be, correct,
Matt.
Okay. Here's why I ask. I know that you have a football background, and I know that you're a pretty good football player. But here's the thing: is that when it comes to Andrew's friends, they like weird ass sports teams, and I'm specifically calling out Bill Black, even though I know he's from the area. But, like, fuck you, Bill Black. Not actually, because I don't want you to beat me up. But, like, you know what we're talking about.
No.
So, okay, so I just wanted to confirm before going to this conversation. So, schedule got released today.
I actually haven't even looked at it
You
yet.
haven't even looked at it. Okay, so just off the top of my head, home opener versus Steelers.
I did see that one.
Yeah, that came out early. And then
Thanksgiving against
Thanksgiving
the Saints.
against
So those
the Saints.
I did see some of it, but that was leaked earlier or whatever.
We've got a Monday Night Football Week 6 in Nashville against the Titans.
Of course.
Yeah, that's going to be an electric game.
Yep.
Bills Mafia is going to take over that one. Week 13, either Monday or Sunday Night Football against the Pats.
I think it was Monday at
Monday
home.
Night Football against the Pats.
Monday Night Football against
And then
the Patriots.
maybe a Sunday night against the Chiefs. I don't know,
That'd be
but what do you think? I mean, we don't necessarily, not even the draft wise, but just looking into the season. What are we thinking?
I mean, their destiny's really in their own hands at this point.
I think so too.
I think they have a really good team. I think they built on a good nucleus that they had last year. The thing with the NFL is, I don't know if you're familiar with the scheduling and how it works, but where you finish in your division is where you'll play the other like conference opponents.
Yeah.
So
for the 17th.
right. Well,
yeah.
all right. So then they picked up Washington.
Yeah.
I think was the 17th team they picked up. So
Which is a steal, by the way.
right. So they've played Kansas City. This will be the second straight year they've played Kansas City. And then they're also going to have to play. They're playing the.
I have the list. I can pull.
Because I'm trying to think.
So
They
pull it
played.
up and we can
They played the
look at
West last year, so this year they'll be playing the South, I think. So they're gonna play. No, because they're playing Pittsburgh. There's something.
Okay, so we've got. I'm gonna list it off. Opener against Pittsburgh. Then week 2 we're at Miami.
Okay.
Week 3 is the Washington home game.
Okay.
Week 4, Houston at home. So
Okay.
3 out of 4 to start at home.
That's pretty good.
And then we go at Kansas City. That's a Sunday night game.
Okay.
At Tennessee. That's the Monday
Tennessee.
night game.
That's who won the South last year.
Yeah.
So that would make sense. That's why.
Then we're home against Miami, at Jacksonville, at the Jets, home against Indianapolis,
Okay.
at New Orleans for the Thanksgiving game.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Then Monday night against New England.
They should have made the Saints come to Buffalo on Thanksgiving.
That would have
Those
been
cowards
awesome.
at the NFL office.
Yeah.
Cowards.
Yeah, they would never let that happen.
Oh my gosh.
And then Sunday currently scheduled for the afternoon game, but
Yeah, it
they
can
already
flex.
they already have it looking to get flexed because it's at Tampa Bay. So
Okay.
that's the first time the Bills will see Brady again.
That's the one game actually where Brady is just like this. He just has their number and he just always has, and it's
Yeah.
like, that's actually why I was kind of glad the Bills didn't make it to the Super Bowl last year,
Because you didn't want to see them lose the top. I had the same thought.
that they got to the Super Bowl and standing there in the freaking tunnel is
fucking
Tom Brady just
city
with
of-
a
yeah.
shit-eating grin on his face.
Yeah, just dying laughing.
Dude,
this is
that-
going to be hysterical.
It would have been bad if they would have lost, but if they would have lost to Brady again like that, I think I would have curled up into a ball and just left my
it would
room
have
for
been
days.
So then just quick to end.
That would have stung.
Yeah. So then they have Carolina at home. That game is to be announced. They have it either being played Sunday or Monday, or maybe that's a Saturday because that's a December game. So maybe
that
because
might be
18th or
Saturday.
19th it's listed
Yeah,
as.
that'll probably be it.
And then at New England, home against Atlanta, home against the Jets. I think they have. I think that's a fair schedule.
So they had their predictions, and they had 4 teams winning 12 games. Buffalo at least 12 games, and Buffalo was one of them.
I think you
Buffalo,
have to.
The Saints, Tampa, and the Chiefs. Or no, it wasn't Tampa. It was Baltimore and the Chiefs.
The Saints. So who is the Saints
I-
quarterback going to be? Because they gave Taysom Hill that
my
huge
gosh.
contract. None of it's guaranteed though.
Dude, I've never seen. I think what the Taysom Hill experiment is that Sean Payton fell in love with this Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, he's
of a
the
quarterback.
best NFL player of all time. He can play any position.
He's the most versatile
Yeah.
NFL player of all time.
I say best because there's nobody else that's ever played the sport that
you've
could.
never seen a quarterback that goes. You don't send your starting quarterback out on the punt team. You
No.
you just don't do it. There's just
And I'm saying, like, you could, if you needed to, he could play.
Oh my gosh,
as a DB. He could play.
Yeah, in a pinch, he could play basically any position on the field that you needed him to. All right, go get their quarterback for one play. Just go get him.
Yeah, seriously. And he would probably get there.
So that's where I think a lot of the Taysom Hill love comes from. I still think Jameis Winston is a good quarterbacking. I know,
and he just had LASIK, right?
I think so. Yeah, that was the other thing.
All right.
If you look at it from like just like a quarterbacking perspective and like what kind of situation he was in Tampa. So it's like when he was in Tampa, he threw 33 touchdowns and 30 picks, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, he threw like 30 picks," which is that's a lot. That is a lot. But he also threw for 5,000 yards.
Yeah.
So
which is decent.
if you look at like how they game planned their games, Tampa wanted to push the ball down the field because they had two really good receivers. So they were just throwing for home runs. Well, not home runs, but the more you go downfield, like 20-yard plus, the more you go downfield, the longer the ball's in the air, the more it's going to get picked off, and that's just logistics of football.
Yeah, so
that's how that works.
Since we're on the quarterback conversation, then we have to dip into Josh Allen.
Oh, dude.
So I mean, we've seen this man capture the city of Buffalo.
Oh my gosh.
By the loins. Like I was going to say by the heart, but it's not even by the heart. It's by the loins. And we've seen the progression. So going into the upcoming season, people are still doubting him, which who gives a shit, because obviously he doesn't.
No, he doesn't care. He really doesn't at this point.
Do you think we're going to see another big progression?
So the way I've always looked at quarterbacks is like if they show progress in the first couple years, like so he was a rookie obviously and he struggled a little bit. The team wasn't the best or whatever. Next year he took the step and he was a little bit better. And going into last season, I kept saying, I was like, whatever he is this year is what he's going to be, and that's what we're gonna get. And he freaking
he was a fucking beast. That fired me up.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
That dude, he took a huge leap and looked unbelievable. The combination of his size and his agility and his arm power is just
and his heart.
That's what I'm saying.
The heart, and that's something you can't measure. You really can't. And he wants it so badly, and you can see that he wants it so badly, and he gives it his all every single week.
Makes me so happy.
I think he's comfortable doing that now too. Like this season, I saw a guy that was so much more confident in big games than he was before by a mile.
You saw Bills players that did you ever read that article from The Athletic? I don't remember who. It was a Bills player. Yeah, I think it was.
Dawkins,
yeah, talking about how Josh Allen and he even said still this season, because it was written during last season. He said still this season, like Josh Allen is such a freak of nature. I know I've used that term a couple times today, but we've been talking about a lot of crazy athletes.
He is a freak of
such
nature.
a freak of nature that he's still discovering what his body can do. Like sometimes he goes out there and tries things, and he realizes like, oh, my body can do this. Yeah, I can do this regularly, so I'm just gonna keep doing it.
He's like Superman. Like,
seriously,
my eyes can shoot lasers. That's crazy.
He might step out in the field next season and figure out that he can fly and just put up numbers that nobody's ever seen before.
There was the one play against the Rams where he like dropped back in the pocket and kind of was like looking around, and Cole Beasley ran that little hole shot route up the sideline, and he took the ball from here and just flicked his wrist, and it just was perfect.
That was some Spider-Man shit.
I looked at my dad and I was like, Dad, that is an impossible throw, and him and maybe Mahomes are the only guys in the league that can make that throw.
And that's the other thing that I love about Josh Allen is you see Patrick Mahomes do crazy shit every time every time you turn on ESPN. But every Bills fan knows that when you watch a Bills game every week, Josh Allen's going to do the same exact shit. But Josh Allen doesn't give a fuck if he made top 10 for doing what he does.
No.
He just goes out there
because he's a Buffalo quarterback.
If you hear him talk in the interviews, he's always just focused. He's like, we're trying to win the next game. We're trying to win the next game. We're trying to win the next game. And that's
which is very Bill Belichick.
Yeah, that's we're just going out there. We're going to do our job, and we're going to do the best that we can, and we're going to do our job. We're stick to the game plan.
And I think now, I mean, you've got Stephon Diggs is still here.
Diggs was the best thing that's happened to this city in a long time.
And also, the thing that I love about that, too, is, and this is me fantasizing a little bit, but you heard a lot of stories about Diggs' past with, like, locker room issues and stuff like that. And a lot of people think that now those might not be as true, seeing what he did in Buffalo, but I almost like to think that that changed when he got to Buffalo between Bean and McDermott and Allen. And you realize, like, these dudes are doing something here. Like,
I think
I got to either get on board or, like, I'm not going to be here for long.
And I think they accepted him very openly, and they've, like...
Well, I mean, they traded... When you trade your first-round draft pick, that's showing you, like, we believe in you, is basically what we're saying.
And
like,
then you go out and get Emmanuel Sanders. You lose John Brown, which stinks, but you couldn't pay him. That's just not in the cards. And you still have Gabe Davis.
Cole Beasley.
Cole Beasley. And Isaiah McKenzie resigned as well.
Yes, he did.
For cheap. And that's another guy who
he wanted to stay.
He said he had offers, and he told his agent, don't even shop me. Just get me in Buffalo. Keep me in Buffalo. That shit fires me up.
That's so beautiful. That's such a beautiful thing.
Such the opposite of the Buffalo Sabres.
I think the thing with Diggs was he was frustrated in Minnesota. He's a player that wants to win, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to win. The guy's just an absolute dog. Just he's scrappy.
Yeah.
He's a dog. That's just the only way I can describe him.
Just so good.
Oh my gosh, he runs great routes, and
And I think that's another thing. Again, going back to Diggs helping out Allen is when you are a young quarterback and you have a guy who can run routes as well as he does.
He's basically uncoverable. Like the second half of the year, like nobody could check him. Nobody could.
And that's what I mean. And you throw Beasley, Sanders, all the guys you just mentioned into the mix. And that's a big thing that's going on in the NFL right now is teams are like, we need cornerbacks. We need the best cornerbacks we can get. We need them now, and we need them in the lineup because these teams are coming out with such high-powered offense. And the Bills, I mean, their secondary at early season this year didn't look great, but it really has been their strong suit.
It's hard to play defense in the NFL, especially playing cornerback. You're basically asking Tre'Davious White basically to all right, go out there and cover him and run backwards, and he's going to run at you full speed.
Yeah, and you don't know where he's going to go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah, he can go anywhere he wants.
Yep, and you're going to run backwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's a tough gig.
But so, man, I just needed to get some Bills talk in.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, because it's got me so excited. I'm so over the Sabres. I don't sell them, dude. I say that, I tweet it probably twice a week. Sell the fucking team.
Wow.
Honestly, the Pagulas have done such a good job with the Buffalo Bills. And just the worst ever with the Buffalo Sabres.
I mean, maybe that's like they're unfixable.
I saw a thing that, people were saying trade the Sabres to Oakland and bring the A's to Buffalo. Because you know how the A's are in their whole...
I'd be okay
so
with
the MLB told the A's... Because the A's have some type of like petition to build a new stadium.
Yeah, their stadium lease or whatever.
And because they need to build a new stadium. And the MLB told them, well, if they don't give you the go-ahead to build your own stadium, you have to relocate. So start figuring out how to relocate.
Well, you guys ever seen Moneyball? You've seen Moneyball?
Great
movie. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Well, basically, like back when they showed it, like the 2002 team or whatever it was, the stadium that they're in right now was shitty then. And like even like before the Raiders like moved to Vegas, like they played in that stadium and like it was a shitty baseball stadium is what it was.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I remember seeing it a few times like during
man.
Raiders games, and I was like,
it's
that
not.
Place, yeah.
No, it's.
So there's no baseball stadiums in the NFL still, right?
Say that again.
There's no baseball stadiums that NFL teams play at anymore.
No, because Miami has their own because they used to play on a baseball
Thank
field.
God.
And
I hated that shit.
Oh yeah,
I
get all dirty with the dirt.
Yeah, it probably sucked to play
it
on.
Looked
because you tear it up.
It looked so like aesthetically unpleasing as a fan to watch that. A lot of sports talk today. We also, we covered everything. We started with Atlantis. Actually, we started with iCarly and ended up on the Bills.
I mean, that's natural progression.
Yeah, 1 + 1 = 2, folks. But one thing we haven't done yet, and we should as we wrap up, is the Who Would Win of the Week. I'm excited for this one. We did a lot of battle and trying to figure out who we were going to do. We settled on what I think is a good one, and one of like the more fair fights that we've had. So this week we've got Master Splinter from the Ninja Turtles, the rat, the giant rat, for those of you who don't know, versus Mr. Miyagi from The Karate Kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to start. I'm actually going to pass this one to Doricko to start.
Oh.
But the one thing that I'll say is I said this right before we started recording. I said that Splinter and Mr. Miyagi are actually the same exact person that live in two different universes.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
And yeah, I mean, I'll second that. Like, I mean, they have the same facial hair, basically. If Mr. Miyagi was like a rat,
If
that
Splinter
would
had
be
a little less fur, they would look very
they'd be
similar.
identical.
That's probably true.
I mean, is the who would win in the week in a fight? Is it
Yes.
always a fight?
Oh yes, it's
They're
a
fighting.
fight.
I keep up on the podcast, but not as much as I should.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to admit, but
I'm not ashamed or offended.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these two are toe-to-toe on a
I think
karate
it-
mat. They're on a karate. That's the only way for
I
these
think
two
it'd have to be
fight.
Splinter. I think Splinter would have to be Mr. Miyagi.
Okay.
Early calling it out. Well, Splinter definitely. I think Splinter kept more up to date with his own skill than Miyagi did, because in training the Ninja Turtles, he had to do a lot there. Miyagi obviously was the repairman for Daniel LaRusso's apartment building. He took some time off from training, but he was able to.
He still caught the fly.
But I think he still caught the fly. At the end of the day,
I
he still
think
caught
that-
the fly.
and-
Hold on,
Yeah.
hold on, because I'm trying
there,
to. I'm
get
trying
there.
to.
He's working
Yeah.
through it.
So, the thing is, what we see from Miyagi's ability to train Daniel is that his karate, his martial arts intelligence, his martial arts IQ is off the charts. He's got a really great understanding of the mechanics, and I think the practice of karate. And so he really understands. Miyagi's coming at it almost from like a technical side. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, a little philosophical in there. Splinter is definitely still in the
physical.
The physical. Yeah, I think that's what he's more focused on. I'm not sure he has as much of a technical mind about it.
See, it's funny that you say this because I actually disagree with both of those. I think that they're both on a very level playing field in the sense that when you're like, you know, that their type of person, that wise, like they're very in tune with their body, and that's why they're good at that stuff, right? Like they kind of, not to sound cheesy, but they try to feel that energy, right? And that's why they're always doing a lot of this and a lot of that.
And whatnot.
Yeah, and being, you know, finding their inner peace and being very aware of their own consciousness and in these unbelievably sane mental states, right? I think that that's how they both are. Splinter, maybe a little less than Mr. Miyagi, but I think that where Splinter's more up-to-date training comes in, it fills in for maybe Miyagi's lack of current training, but still in tune with that complete mental state that they both have. So, because when you try to look at and say that Miyagi's more technical, whereas Splinter's more physical, I don't know if I agree with that because, correct me if I'm wrong as to why you're thinking this, but in my mind, if I were to think that Miyagi was more technical, it would be because of how he trains the Karate Kid, right? With these different, extremely technical movements.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that in that situation, the reason that Miyagi trained the kid I don't even know.
Daniel.
Daniel. The reason that he trained Daniel
Ralph
that way
Macchio.
is because it was almost like a time constraint. Like, Daniel was kind of getting his ass kicked and really wanted to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Miyagi didn't necessarily have the time to get him in tune with that spirit as much. And that's why, but he kind of got there himself, you know, kind of through
the training.
heart again. And that's why even though he got the legs swept, he was able to come in there and get it done. I kind of do agree that I have to lean towards Mr. Miyagi. The only reason I'll say that is because, and I guess it kind of does, I guess I might have spoke too soon on the technical aspect, but Splinter and Mr. Miyagi, very similar people. Miyagi, however, in a very short amount of time, was able to get Daniel so disciplined. Whereas, although it was Splinter's goal,
the teacher.
the Ninja Turtles were not as disciplined
That's true.
as they should have been. They were quite messy.
But Splinter raised them like children. They were
Which
his
is different
children.
than strictly
Sure.
being a teacher. I understand
Right,
that.
that's true, because he was also their dad,
their father.
and they also were around each other the whole time. Daniel was on. It was just him.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a little, some kind of brotherly energy, I guess, in there.
I think it would have to be Splinter. I just think it would be Splinter just because he's a big rat. He's just
Which is a factor. And
because
I,
if you think about it, rats are small, right? Normal rats are small,
Yeah,
except Splinter.
I follow you.
So if you think about like you know the one episode of Rick and Morty when Rick falls into the vat as the pickle and has
Yeah.
to fight the rats.
Yeah.
Like
Rats
he
are-
obviously had like the technology and the
Right.
means to, but like if you shrunk Mr. Miyagi down, would he be able to fight off like a rat with like the strength and stuff like that?
See, but I think
Ooh.
this is my this was
Like just a
theory.
regular rat.
Yeah.
This was a big, also mental dilemma that I was having that I'm glad got brought up was rats in general. I feel like kind of have a very savage mentality, a cutthroat mentality, and that's something that we talk about a lot in the Who Would Win of the Week because people that have that mentality are often able to win, even if they're maybe not as skilled.
It's the will
because,
to win.
Yeah, well, and not only will, but the willingness to get dirty, kind of, right? To flirt with the line. I don't think that that's the way that Splinter operates.
I agree.
I think that Splinter's very black and white. I think that in a fight between him and Mr. Miyagi, it would be nothing but respect from each party.
Yeah.
But
That's fair.
I think, I don't know, but he is still a giant rat.
Yeah. I mean, he does have a tail,
That's true.
so that's something.
Yeah, take into
that
account.
might be the deciding factor.
It's the
It's
tail.
the fifth limb.
Because because you see it, he has control over the tail.
Yeah, of
he
course.
uses his tail in his spectrum of fighting
leg.
skill.
Sweep the leg with the
So,
tail.
But that would
actually,
not affect Miyagi.
You know
He's
what?
obviously ready
but
for that.
I will say that that actually may sell me on Splinter. Because here's the other thing I thought about too was Splinter as an animated rat though has what I would say human characteristics as far as arms and legs go.
Yeah.
Maybe not legs, but arms.
Yeah, he's like a humanoid.
Yeah,
rat.
so, I mean, if he was just a large version of a rat, he wouldn't have the ability to get up in Miyagi's grill. But because he has so many human characteristics, I don't think that becomes a factor. But when you add in the tail, I actually think that point flipped my eventual winner, and I think that I'm gonna go with Splinter because of the tail. I think that the fight is that close that the tail gives him just enough of an advantage.
Splinter by a tail.
Splinter by a fucking tail. Put that on a shirt.
Miyagi would, though,
man.
obviously be able to compensate for that going in. Like, he'd be very aware of it.
I know he'd be aware, but
Would he be able to stop it?
Because no person has a tail.
I guess
Maybe
that's
one
true.
person with the tail.
I'm saying though, think of it when you think of it as a fifth limb,
Yeah,
it's a huge advantage.
that's true.
Think if you just had like a third arm just growing out of your chest.
Yeah, almost
Jesus
an ability
Christ.
to
Distract.
I wouldn't even. You could use it in two ways. You could, because when you're fighting somebody in a karate style, like a hand-to-hand combat, like not necessarily fist fight, there's a lot of, blocking with the arms and the legs and stuff like that. When you throw in that tail, not only does he have the ability to maybe get that tail around and block when he's not in a position that a regular human would be able to block, but he can also use that tail to strike in a position where he would not usually be able to strike. And in such a fair fight, I think that takes the cake.
The one thing that I wanted to mention more about who these two guys are is that Splinter, he's obviously a dad to the Turtles, but he does seem to keep himself at a bit of a distance. Like, he does seem to...
He does his own thing.
he never lets them forget that he is in fact their teacher.
He doesn't. Well, he doesn't
He's also their
micromanage.
dad.
He doesn't micromanage. Him.
Sure, but he also, I mean, that's true. Miyagi, he went through a lot.
With the whole wife.
Yeah, that's the thing. Miyagi's wife and child died in an American internment camp for the Japanese while Miyagi was fighting in World War II. I think that there is something to be... He would be able to go to a gear that not a lot of people would be able to go to.
See,
but that being said, at the end of the day, with it being so close, it's Splinter by a tail. It has to be.
Splinter by a tail.
It has to be Splinter by a tail.
And we're going to lock in Splinter by a tail, but I just have one last point to make towards that.
Yeah.
I don't disagree that Miyagi has some demons in there, but Splinter hasn't had an easy life either. He had to raise those turtles and convince them that their only way to live was in the shadows, which is a difficult thing to do. I mean, I know it's like,
right.
But it's a very difficult thing to do, to know that these kids
are
just want to
teenagers,
go out and live a regular life of sorts, and he had to rein them in. That's not an easy task either.
That's true. Being a single dad in a sewer.
Yeah.
Raising
So
4 turtles.
we're going to lock in Splinter by a tail.
Splinter by a tail.
Vote on that on Instagram. Pop in on the
Clubhouse. Yeah, we didn't do it last week. But
Couldn't do it last week. We're going to do it this week. 4 p.m.
4 p.m.
on Friday.
Yep.
Get in there. Check that out. People have been having some fun in there. Andrew, we've been going for a while. It's getting late.
Yeah.
Is there one last thing you want to touch on while we have Doricko here? A story you can pull out of him, an event in life history that you'd like to bring up to give these people a little bit of insight into the personal life of Andrew Doricko?
I don't know.
A lot of giggling. So there's a lot of giggling going on.
I've known Andrew for a long time.
Yep, I know.
Yeah.
We've been pals for 6th grade, I think, right?
6th grade. I remember. I was thinking about this because you were coming on. I remember how it happened. It was
actually because I couldn't, so I was hoping you would remember.
Well, it was the second day of 6th grade, and it was the first day that we had gym class.
Okay.
And we were in the same gym class.
Yes, we were.
And neither of us knew where to go.
Right.
So we followed each other.
Yeah.
And
that sounds right. Yeah, I think I do vaguely.
That's what happened. Yeah. I remember walking down those stairs by the 6th grade hallway, and there was some woman standing there, and you going up to her, and me, right next to you, and me being like, "Which way is the gym?" And she's like, "That way." And then we went, and then boom, the rest is that's how you do it. Yeah.
Thinking back on, it took me a second. I was like, where was the middle school gym? Now that I remember where it was. Tough look for you guys to not be able to find the middle school gym.
Well, it was there was a bell,
so
it was
big.
a time
It seemed so
constraint.
big. I
Not even
understand.
that, but we just had no idea, and we were like, we don't want to be late.
But there's only
you don't know.
It's pretty much it's like a grid system, and in that back hallway, there's only 2 things: there's a gym and a cafeteria. They're the 2 biggest things in the school.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know where they were.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
fair. And Mr. Cod probably trained you guys to be fine young men.
He did.
That
was his thing.
Yeah, and he would always give me those cookies, and I love those damn cookies. On that note, you good with wrapping it up?
Yeah, I don't. There's
2 minutes. Yeah,
you got one? Anything else? I guess not. No.
Yeah, there's some.
I'll try to come back on though.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you back on.
There's some stuff from my birthday that we've never gotten into.
We talk about that day one too many times. Yeah.
I don't know if we can ever get into some of that stuff.
I'll just say this: Andrew's 21st birthday.
We talk about it a lot.
Was like a top 3 night like ever. It was just absolutely.
It was.
That is the most talked about event on this podcast.
Matt, you don't.
It was fucking insane.
Because there's 3 different points of view that you can tell the story from. That's why, and it's. I mean,
arguably, there's before, during,
and after,
and
then still.
Yeah, I was there.
I mean, there was a ripple effect from that day that just went out for
weeks,
a long time.
Some stories are meant to never be told, Andy.
Yeah, some of them.
Yeah, that's true. It was It is that crazy though that it is that talked about because it was ridiculous.
Pretty much almost every guest that we have on that knows Andrew,
that was there.
like that night
Has something to
comes
say
up.
about that.
Yeah. Jesus Christmas, folks.
I mean, part of it was, again, we won't. I just like.
Do you
I
just
just
want
like.
me to tell my side of it, or do
You
you want me
can
to save it?
go ahead.
I will
Go ahead if you want to. I just like teasing it because what I'm remembering is so much so the next morning, and the only way we can describe the whole shape of what we woke up to is 2 words: crack den.
Yeah, that's.
And
That's
I
the only
know
way
what
you
you're
can
thinking,
describe
like,
it.
oh, that must be some kind of exaggeration, some kind of joke.
No, it was.
It's so
legitimately a
close
crack
to what
den.
was happening, aside from people smoking crack. It's shocking to think about.
Yeah. Yes.
it
Even
was
for
so
some of the
funny.
stuff that we've done, even for us, it's shocking.
Well, I think that's a great image to leave in the the minds of our listeners as we close out here today. Andrew, 1, thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks
2,
for having me, guys.
love the hoodie.
Oh, yeah. Teespring.com.
So
Go
teespring.com.
get your 2 in the cooler.
There, yep.
Apparel and gear?
We never brought this back up, but the PTP shirts are officially online.
Yes,
I know
that's
we've
right.
tweeted out and
tipping.
stuff.
Oh, I should have told the pizza tipping story because I actually was there for the pizza
Let's do it.
tipping.
Let's do it
All
real
right,
quick.
all right, yeah.
We have
All
to.
right, so this is back in the 6th grade
This is-
cafeteria
yep.
where we should have been able to find. This was it was probably like halfway through the year or something. I don't know.
It must have been in the winter because of the jacket.
Yes, it definitely was. So
Although,
Andrew and I were just starting to become good friends, and so we sat and ate lunch together. Andrew eats his pizza like this, as your viewers obviously know, and listeners. He eats it with the pizza just
tips.
sitting on the fingertips.
yeah, you tip it.
Just the tips.
And so he's sitting there telling a story with his hands as he normally does because that's his thing. And this kid behind us gets his jacket and he flings it around and knocks the pizza off of his fingertips. And Andrew was so upset that this dude knocked his pizza off his fingertips, and he was just not having it. He was
Well,
Pizza security
no-
is job
because
security.
you
folks.
No
remember
remorse, yeah.
you remember what
Yeah,
happened.
he was just-
I look at the guy.
He's like,
and I
"Hey."
go, hey, and I've said this before on the podcast.
he
He goes,
the shit out of you.
what? And it was a UB
Letterman jacket.
like Letterman jacket.
Yep,
I
they used to
remember
sell
that
at
guy's
Stephen
face
Barry's.
so well.
They used to-
Stephen Barry's.
Stephen
Yep,
Barry's.
that's
They
where
used
you
to
got
sell
those
those.
jackets. I remember that
a
guy's
day
face
that will
so
forever
well.
live in infamy.
Yep.
Yep.
The day that kid smacked the piece of pizza out of hand. Now, to do it again, Doricko, thanks for coming
Thanks
on.
for having me,
Thanks,
guys.
Sal.
Andy, it's always a pleasure.
Let's get out of here.
Love you, kid. Thanks for coming on.